Everyone, and thank you all for coming out. I'm Detective Lieutenant Mustafa Beasy. Standing here with me is Chief of Police Alvin Barron and Executive Lieutenant Teresa Young. Today, Chief Barron will update the public regarding a human trafficking investigation that occurred at the Quality Inn Hotel on July 21st in the city of Southfield. I ask that you please hold all your questions until the conclusion of this press briefing and turn off or mute all cell phones and electronic devices. A press packet is available on the back table, which includes a USB drive of all the media files presented today. For record-keeping purposes, we ask that you complete our media sign-in sheet. Without further delay, Chief Barron.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And as always, I'm always keep saying it, I thank our media friends for joining us. We have very important information to release. I want to thank you for your patience. I know a couple stories went out yesterday involving this arrest that prompted a lot of additional media interest. One thing I'm going to say about the Southfield Police Department, we take human trafficking investigations very seriously. When you look at our police officers, they're really highly trained at recognizing the signs of human trafficking when we respond to calls for service, particularly at hotels. I've given a number of briefings about arrests at these hotels, significant incidents involving human traffickers. But one thing I want to make sure that we highlight is that our officers continue to be very aware. They understand the importance of asking probing questions, looking at body language, and they also listen for the circumstances to what we're being told. In this case, we were called to the hotel initially on a report of a malicious destruction of property where our suspect damaged our victim's vehicle. Due to our police officers' awareness, it evolved into a human trafficking investigation. So we're announcing a significant arrest of 33-year-old Randolph Lewis, who is a resident of Arlington, Texas, who we believe to be a key human trafficking person that spans from Louisiana to Southfield. These victims, some as young as 17 years old, were coerced, threatened, and manipulated into a life of sex trafficking. Through a surveillance operation from the Southfield Police Department's Tactical Surveillance Unit, interviews and forensic evidence, and cooperation from the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, we were able to build a case that led to this significant arrest. And just for reference, the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force consists of members from the Southfield Police Department, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, Madison Heights, and the Auburn Hills Police Department, a collective unification of officers who are really dedicated at these types of investigations. So on Monday, July 21st, at approximately 3 a.m., Southfield officers were dispatched to 26111 Telegraph at the Quality Inn Hotel on a report of a domestic disturbance involving a malicious destruction of property where a vehicle was damaged. Southfield officers arrived on scene and spoke with a 21-year-old victim who is a resident of Louisiana. The victim informed officers that Randolph Lewis broke her windshield because she didn't get him the food that he requested. So I'd imagine he sent her out to get some fast food, and the order wasn't what he desired. Lewis took the victim's property that was inside of the hotel room, damaged her vehicle, and she was highly upset about the way that she was treated, and stated to our officers that he stated to her he was not going to repair the damage to the windshield, and she would like to pursue criminal charges. And this is where the police officers began their probing. The victim stated that our suspect was staying in the hotel. When our officers responded to the room, he was already had fled the location, and there was no answer at the door. The victim further stated that Lewis had rented multiple rooms. So this was a trigger. He rented 3 rooms at the Quality Inn, which is an alarming indication of human trafficking. Southfield officers quickly determined that this was suspicious for Lewis to have access to 3 hotel rooms. The victim told officers that she planned to drive back home to Louisiana that evening. Our officers began to interview our victim about her relationship with Lewis. The victim's body language indicated that she was frightened and caught off guard by our officers' questions and initially denied being trafficked. The victim wanted to get her belongings and just travel back to Louisiana. However, she disclosed that she had been taken from Louisiana and brought to Michigan by Lewis. The victim advised that there was another female who was involved with Lewis as well. However, when we made contact with that victim, she was uncooperative. What our investigation revealed, the victim was unaware that she was in the state of Michigan at the start of the interview. The victim stated that she had been trafficked by Lewis for approximately 1 year and that the two met in Louisiana. The two would travel back and forth between Louisiana and Dallas twice per month. The victim admitted to being trafficked in both states, and prior to arriving in Southfield, she spent 3 days in Chicago. Prior to the Chicago trip, she spent 3 days in St. Louis. The victim advised officers that the reason they left Louisiana was because another woman being trafficked by Lewis called the police, which prompted him to flee the state. The local police department in Louisiana, they are aware and they are authorizing charges as we speak for Lewis, and we do expect those charges to be forthcoming. The victim stated that in the past year of being trafficked by Lewis, there's approximately 10 other victims which she was unable to provide us with information or their contact information. Detectives are actively working to identify those other victims. The victim stated that Lewis has assaulted her multiple times, which resulted in her sustaining minor injuries. The victim further stated she was forced to have unconsensual sex with Lewis at least 2 times in the past year. The victim would say no. However, Lewis would ignore her requests and engage in intercourse with her anyway. These incidents did not occur in Michigan. The last incident occurred about 5 months ago in the state of Louisiana. The victim would fight Lewis to prevent the sexual assaults from occurring. She would give up after becoming fatigued or succumb to the sexual assault. Lewis has prevented our victim from leaving in the past and has used other means of manipulation, such as taking her property, to control her. The victim had been staying at the Quality Inn for 3 to 4 days and has been seeing multiple clients over that span of time at the hotel. The victim advised that her services were being advertised on a commercial sex site via the internet and these sex apps. The victim stated that Lewis would take her earnings and that she would not be allowed to have money that she would receive from her clients. So we conducted a search warrant on the 3 hotel rooms at the Quality Inn. As a result, our detectives were able to discover items consistent with human trafficking, such as sex toys, sexual lubricants, and condoms. We also seized electronic devices such as phones and tablets that, again, we're going to examine to determine their relationship with human trafficking, which we believe we're going to find some significant information on those electronic devices. So as a result of our investigation, the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office has authorized the following charges on Randolph Lewis, again 33 years old, resident of Arlington, Texas. Count 1, human trafficking, enterprise resulting in injury, commercial sexual activity. Count 2, prostitution, accepting earnings. Count 3, computers using to commit a crime. Count 4 and 5, criminal sexual conduct, assault with intent to commit sexual penetration. He received a $300,000 bond, cash, GPS Chebler upon release. His next court date is scheduled for August 4th at 8:30 a.m. Before Judge Deborah Nance. We also know, again, that there is charges forthcoming out of the state of Louisiana. We looked at his criminal history. All of his crimes on record occurred in the state of Louisiana. He has a history of domestic assault and battery, theft, trespassing, burglary, and again, malicious destruction of property. And those cases are also pending out of Louisiana. Right now, our primary concern is the well-being and safety of the victims involved in this, and we're going to ensure that we do all we can by way of working with some of our advocacy groups and some of our other organizations to make sure they get the care that they need, certainly housing if available, and also counseling that these services often provide. I'm going to show you a video of the arrest. I'm going to show you a portion of the interview that the responding officers did the night of our investigation, just to give you a glimpse of what our victim was saying during that interview. Certainly we're going to have her completely blocked out to secure her identity. But the most important video I'm going to show you is a video of our suspect while he's in our lockup injure himself. And what I'll tell you, when these suspects injure themselves in police custody, they do it for a number of reasons. One being, and you all see this play out plenty of times, that's why I love the fact that we have body cameras, they will assume that the public will believe that we assaulted them and caused the injuries, because he injured himself significantly. The second reason why they do these things is because they think it's going to delay their processing through the criminal justice system. And what I'll tell you, it's not going to work. Although he's been in the hospital since the day of this incident, because again, he injured himself right away, head injuries. He's going to still be processed. He's still been arraigned. And soon as the medical staff at the hospital determine that he is free to be discharged, he's going to be remanded to the Oakland County Jail. So again, I'm going to be doing him a favor when I show this video, because I'm going to prevent him from filing a false police report, which will be additional charges. So that's a gift I'm giving our suspect. So at this point, if we can show the first video. Again, this is a video. We can lower the lights a little bit. And remember, all this information I'm going to give to you on a thumb drive. But this is an interview the evening, 3 o'clock in the morning, of our victim as she's talking to responding officers.
So you've known it for a year, you've been doing this for a year. So when you were down in Louisiana and then you came, like, you met him down here and you brought him up here. Is that what happened? I'm just trying to get like that time frame. Okay. Are you free to leave? Like, if you want to leave right now, can you leave?
Before we met, say yesterday, if you wanted to leave, would you have prevented you from leaving in some capacity?
Yeah.
Taking your keys, told you no, physically locked the door, anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
At my house, when we together, I told him I was relative, and then he had a key to my apartment too. Because I ran that for because and I told him I didn't want me because he had a key. So I didn't feel safe just leaving because he could come back anytime. So I called a friend to everybody from my apartment. He messed up my whole apartment. All my TVs are broke, my clothes is leaked. But he just
Anything for us to hurt you when you leave? Anything for us to hurt or kill you?
he just bad and cute.
Previously to us. Where did he try to hurt me and kill you?
Because I talked to him as God.
Okay, so this gives you a snapshot of her really talking about being forced into this lifestyle. Next video. This is a video of us taking the suspect into custody at the hotel.
What's the problem? What's your name? Huh? What's your name? Man, what's the problem? What's the problem? Spread your feet. Spread your feet. What's that again? Right? What's the problem? What's the problem? What's your name? What's the problem? What is your full name? What's your full name?
Okay. The next video is him assaulting himself in the cell block inside of the Southfield Police Station. He gets back up and continues, keep using that word assault himself, that may be a little bit too disturbing to show all that, because at some point he does start bleeding. So let's turn the lights back on, and at this point I will open up the floor for questions.
Do you have then two women who are victims here? This woman you interviewed and the one who was uncooperative?
Yes, so we have the victim who initially reported this sex trafficking. We were able to make contact with a second victim that's uncooperative, and we're working leads on the remaining 8 women who we believe he's also in the process of trafficking.
And do you think that those women were all trafficked here, in those 3 rooms, or it sounds like they made, a lot of headway all across the country?
Yeah, and the investigation has to reveal exactly where each woman was trafficked, but to answer your question, I believe it's the traveling from state to state, ranging from Louisiana, Chicago, all these different locations where our victim did disclose to us. And remember, she disclosed to us she didn't even know she was in the state of Michigan. That's how often these traffickers move these women from state to state. And so very saddening to hear, you're talking about a 21-year-old victim. I mentioned earlier that one of the victims is 17 years old. And so these individuals have no regard. It's about profit, control, manipulation, but we're going to hold them accountable.
And was it just one victim found at the hotel then, the 21-year-old?
Right, so it was one in addition to our victim that we were able to make contact with. But we do have information that there are multiple others out there that are in need of assistance.
Do you have a rough idea of how many human trafficking arrests or busts y'all have made in the last year?
Well, I'll just start off with the ones we made within the last 3 months. This will be the 4th significant arrest we've made at these hotels. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I believe also occurs between the police officers understanding the questions to ask, the hotels knowing that this is a problem, and they're being trained, and also they have been a beacon of hope, a refuge for some of these victims, where they have went down to the lobby, disclosed that they were being trafficked. The manager or the clerk there would hide them temporarily in one of the rooms until law enforcement arrived. So between the cooperation from the hotels, great police work, great detective work, we're making headway, at least when you come into our city. Because I'm going to tell you, we have a Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, which we have a member on full-time. And we also have a part-time member of this agency assigned to the Federal Human Trafficking Task Force. So that just shows you the level of dedication we're putting into human trafficking, because we recognize this is a global, national, and local problem.
The frequency of these human trafficking cases, like you said, this many high-profile cases in the last 3 or so months, does that say anything about the prevalence of human trafficking here in Southfield specifically?
It talks about the country. These numbers, I just read off the fact that these individuals are traveling from state to state and moving these women from state to state. When you look at Oakland County as a whole, even going into Wayne County, there's a lot of hotels. Southeast Michigan is very different from, you say, the northern part of Michigan. A lot more activity, a lot of things going on. So they use these type of platforms. Generally, they like to stay within the vicinity of a major city, operate in either the major city or the suburbs of the city. That's usually their MOs. As I mentioned, Chicago and some of these other big cities in these other states. So again, we're aware. That's why we have our FBI task force. We localized it. Certainly we'll continue to shout out Sheriff Michael Bouchard for initiating the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, which we are a part of. So again, we're going to continue our work. We're going to continue our investigations, but more importantly, we're going to continue rescuing women who are victims of these traffickers.
And just this number, do you think that's evidence of more human trafficking cases happening in this area, or the police department uncovering these cases because so often they go unreported?
Well, it's a huge market. Depending on what study you look at, when you look at the state of Michigan, we range anywhere from the 10th state to the 13th state in volumes of human trafficking. And so with that being said, we have to pay attention to make sure that we providing resources in that area, because human trafficking is real. Not only are our victims being driven into a life of sex work, let's not forget the town hall study that the Southfield Police Department did just yesterday, when we talked about the fact that these women are also being drugged by these individuals with these hardcore substances. We did a press conference and a town hall discussion on the dangers of synthetic drugs, and we were able to show the pattern of behavior that these individuals use these drugs to continue to control and manipulate the women. And so this is a serious issue. That's why I'm very proud of the fact that in each case that we've done a press conference on, the judges in these cases and the magistrates have given anywhere from $300,000 bonds all the way to $3 million bonds, depending on the circumstances. So with that being said, we are continuing to send a message to the human traffickers that if you decide to come into Southfield, there's a high probability we're going to discover your activity and take these type of actions. That's why he panicked on the video, because he understands the seriousness of this offense, and then want to injure himself to delay or keep himself in a hospital room and not going to prison. And then ultimately, like I said, and I guarantee you, had I not shown this video, he would say that the Southfield Police Department injured him. So again, I did him a favor, all right?
Was this a case where these women also were being controlled with drugs? Was that how he, I mean, obviously through other means too, taking their, keys, keeping them from leaving, whatever have you, but was there also the drug involvement?
So we didn't find any narcotics in these rooms. The only things that we find, again, were condoms, lubricants, electronic devices, sex toys, but no evidence of narcotics. Not to say it's not happening, because again, you're talking about 8 to 10 additional women that we were not able to come in contact that left before we arrived. So I wouldn't be surprised, because that is the trafficker's number one control mechanism, is using drugs to control them and manipulate them.
Did the victims or the victim that you spoke with indicate that he had an accomplice or accomplices helping him?
Yeah, she mentioned that he has affiliates throughout these other states. The evidence suggests that he pretty much travels with this crew of women alone, but he's organized. But again, I think they keep the women rotated through multiple states. They have, again, with their organization, people in positions to receive and transfer Williams and set up dates.
It seems like these incidents can go under wraps easily. What more can people in the community do to just report these sorts of incidents?
Yeah, and another good question, because as you know, sex trafficking and prostitution has changed. It's not the same as it was years ago, where women are necessarily just standing on corners and things like that. The advancement in technology, this crime has moved accordingly to where now a lot of these dates are set up on these apps and on these sites, which make it very difficult for law enforcement to intervene. Therefore, the FBI task force, the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force, I didn't give you the name of some of these sites intentionally, because we're going to probe and pay attention and do some operation on these sites. I think I'm giving too many hints out. And so we're going to continue to monitor these sites, take action, put together operations to disrupt this activity. So you asked me about what the community can do. So the community can certainly continue to be aware, pay attention to signs, listen to your loved ones. You never know who may be victimized by this. You see the numbers, 17-year-old, a 21-year-old, basically these are still children. And then now they're going from state to state being human trafficked. So we just ask the community to pay attention when these individuals come into gas stations, truck stops. Call 911 if you see something suspicious. Don't be discouraged because a lot of folks don't necessarily want to talk. Sometimes it just takes the right police officer or right person to get them to have the courage or confidence to tell what they're going through. As in this case, remember, she was just simply going to report that her car was damaged by him wanted to prosecute him for that, but then go to Louisiana and just be done with it. But through great interview questions, she had the courage and confidence to confide in those officers to help her, which we did.
And so now those two victims that you do have contact with, they're with one of the sort of safe houses, one of the human trafficking, survivor groups that house people like this and help them through.
Yeah, we always refer them. Sometimes they don't necessarily stay there or want to go. So we kind of encourage them to go when they feel comfortable, let them know the resources are available, not just in Michigan. Certainly when this individual stated that she would like to return back to her home state, certainly resources and what she can do in that state as well were offered. So again, we're going to continue to do the best that we can. This is a problem that's not going to be resolved no time soon. It's a global issue. It's a big demand, a huge market for it. But day by day, case by case, we're going to do what we can to make an impact.
Chief, how's the suspect finding these victims?
Different ways. I looked at the MO of a lot of the suspects. I must speak generally. They look for women who are vulnerable. They look for women who may, and men too, but generally it's our women who are subjected by this. But they look for individuals who are vulnerable, maybe homeless, runaways are often lured in. Sometimes they find out that a person is in need of money, resources, and so they're able to manipulate them. They also use other women to gain confidence in our victims to lure them in as well. They'll say, hey, let me take you shopping, let me get your hair done, let me get your nails done. And then they're now forced into a life of sex trafficking and prostitution. So it's multiple ways that they carry out these crimes. And again, another great question to put out to the community is being aware of the fact that there are individuals who are predators, who are looking for ways to manipulate our young youth.
To follow up on that, what's your message to maybe parents and victims that are scared to speak up to police when they are approached?
Yeah, I know it's difficult. Speaking up and coming forth is difficult because what they are mostly afraid of, the fact they're going to face their abuser at some point if the case goes to trial. There are some cases that are settled out of court and they're spared from having to go through a full court process or trial. But the point is to get them out of a lifestyle of sex trafficking. It's dangerous. Not only are they at risk because of the abuser, some of the johns, the drugs, it's a lot of risk involved. And so I would just encourage the community, again, if you know someone who you suspect is being trafficked, ask questions and then seek the resources that are available. All right?